Welcome back, guys and girls. The last time we left off right about when my cross-country season was wrapping up in my freshman year, so I'm starting basketball in the winter. And let me point out that during cross-country, because I was growing so much, and because I was sick so often, and because this was right around the time that my family started eating really healthy, my coaches were worried that I wasn't getting enough food, enough red meats, enough carbs, enough different things, because what would happen during cross-country is I was a very strong starter, and I would finish weak, which is the exact opposite of what you want in cross-country. Now, I started well enough and had long enough strides and just good enough everything that I was able to maintain a high level even with my weak finishes. But it did become a problem, and it was concerning to both me and my mom because I'd come home and just be completely exhausted. I was basically out of commission for the rest of the weekend or the rest of the day after the big meets that we had. And my coaches were concerned that I was not getting enough meat in my system because we basically started eating mainly chicken and turkey. And they were also concerned that I wasn't getting enough carbs and that I just wasn't eating enough in general. So I took this knowledge into basketball season, also knowing that I've been sick quite a bit and that cross-country had gone pretty well, but it wasn't really a love of mine. I enjoyed running, I enjoyed competing, I enjoyed, medaling and getting cool ribbons and things like that and meeting kids, but it wasn't my love. My love was basketball. I played basketball since I was 6 years old. I attended every basketball camp I could possibly go to throughout my childhood. I practiced all the time. I played all the time. I loved the NBA. I loved basketball, video games. I had jerseys and posters and t-shirts and went to games for birthday presents, and it was a huge part of my life. I, of course, figured, even though this was a big school, that I would no problem make my freshman team. No problem. I had ridiculous shooting ability that I still have to this day, I'm proud to say, and it's improved quite a bit. But even back then, I was such a good shooter. I remember being in the tryouts, and some of the varsity players, because basically what happened was a lot of the kids, sophomores, transferred from one school because they were basically going to form, a new basketball team at this school, and the coach came over, and a lot of his top players came over. So it was like, hey, almost like when teams move cities, but this time they move schools. And a lot of those players were like, dude, we need this guy on our team. They were telling the coach, we need to get this guy on our team. He's really solid. And I was like, yes, this is going great. I was scoring a ton, great shooter, three-pointers during tryouts. I thought it was a cakewalk. I thought it was no problem. I remember, skipping cross-country practice to go to the tryouts and not really having a care in the world, just kind of going through it and having fun. And I was growing a little bit. I wasn't at my, max height, so I was still a little bit in an awkward state, but I was growing. And, they basically were doing a couple days of tryouts to basically evaluate everyone, and then they slowly started eliminating kids a couple at a time, sort of Survivor, reality TV show style, which was kind of really, I thought, devastating at that age. I've never seen a tryout do it like that since. Normally it's either all or nothing, or, they have some system of doing it, but not like this, like, you've been voted off the island kind of mentality that they had at my school. So the first couple days, I just sat there without even freaking out. I was like, no big deal. My mom, no big deal. My dad, no big deal. He'd come, pick me up. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not worried about this. I'm probably the best shooter there. I'm super skilled. Now, the head coach of the varsity team, he was a former San Antonio Spurs scout. So he scouted for this NBA team, the Spurs, and, found players for them. He was a big dude. He's probably about 6'5", weighed quite a bit. I didn't really think much of it during the tryouts. He was aggressive and kind of a mean coach, not what I was really used to or liked, but, I dealt with it. The JV coach was a little more mild and, not that bad, and I figured, hey, this will be no problem. I probably won't play varsity my freshman year just because I'm short and skinny, but I'll do okay on the JV team. So let me tell you, when one of the final days of tryouts came, and my name was called to, talk to the coach after the tryouts, I honestly thought that I was dreaming. I thought that it wasn't real. I thought that he made a mistake. I thought he wanted to invite me to varsity practice or something. I had I just didn't believe in my heart or soul that this was really happening. And I remember that was probably the most depressed I've ever been in my entire life in, like, one day. I remember going home and telling my mom, and it was like gut-wrenching excruciating. This was like a big family thing. My parents always came to my games. My little brothers came. It was like a huge part of my identity. And to get cut freshman year was just brutal. Now, the coach did offer that I could be the manager of the team. My first reaction was, heck no, I don't want to be the manager. I want to play. My car is completely roadblocked, and I think I'm done for. Busted. And I felt busted. I felt busted in basketball. I didn't want to be a manager. I didn't want to follow the team around and keep score and, you know, give guys water bottles. I was a freaking, in middle school, I was the star of the show. I averaged 20 points a game. You know, I led the league in three-pointers, points per game, and free throw percentage. I was used to dominating. And, you know, this was, of course, before kids really went through a growth spurt. And high school basketball was, of course, a much different level, but I didn't want to do it. Then I decided, maybe this is a way to get close to the team, close to the coach, show my growth, and then do better next year. So I did end up being a manager of the team. I traveled around with the varsity team, which I thought would be good because I'd be with the head coach who made the decisions in the program instead of being with, you know, the JV team, even though I would have been more comfy with the JV team. So I kept stats, I kept score. You know, there were some awkward moments in the bus. The kids were like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? They're, you know, goofy sophomores. They weren't that mature themselves. But it was fun. Just a really tough experience to not be playing. And I continued to grow, so I was hopeful that sophomore year things would be different. My wisdom teeth were coming in fully. I was getting healthier. And it seemed like maybe things would be better. That season was going to be a bust, but I'd keep practicing hard and keep at it. So while that threw a kink in the plans for my freshman year, another thing did as well, which was that the classes were just far too boring and easy for me. Now, not to brag or gloat, but I was just brainlessly, you know, getting 100% on my tests and A's, and I wanted something different. I didn't want to waste my time there. Now, I could have just taken a ton of AP courses or things like that, but they unfortunately didn't let freshmen do that, and this was a public school, and I really didn't have much experience in public school, so that was out of the question. I decided that I would sort of independent study the first half of my day. So English and science and math, I would do an independent study and instead fill my afternoon with some requirements, but also some fun things. I took journalism and became an editor of the school paper. I basically stepped in to be the sports editor of the school paper, which was my most fun thing my freshman year. I worked with a really great teacher and a really great group of kids designing the school paper, and because it was a brand new school, they had luckily a lot of money to invest in this. So it was a really well done production, a lot of fun. It was sports, and I remember my very first article was about Terrell Owens, the Philadelphia Eagles. I wrote about Kobe Bryant because it was, you know, Laker country, and just had a heck of a lot of fun. So I independent studied these courses, and it started off pretty darn easy. My favorite was English because my teacher, instead of assigning me the boring books that everyone else had to read, he gave me some of his favorites, and then I would write essays based on those, more analytical analysis papers, instead of just like, you know, basic 5-paragraph essays. So that was really fun. I really grew to love both my journalism teacher and my straight, you know, normal English teacher. That sounds really weird. Both were straight, but you know what I mean, my regular English teacher. Science was a little more boring. It was really easy. The teacher was kind of a weirdo, and I was sick and tired of learning about volcanoes and tectonic plates and geographical shifts and things of that nature. And you know, I was able to basically get out of geography pretty fast once they saw that I was adequate enough to color maps. And I had this feeling that the geography teacher did not check our homework at all. I just knew that he wasn't doing it. So there was a couple times where I would start to put hidden words inside my assignment. So I'd answer the question like, you know, the largest country in Asia is SpongeBob, China, or you know, Russia, whatever whatever it was. Don't quote me on these. But I was inserting weird things everywhere, and it never was caught. And I had an A, and I walked out of there like, man, that course was boring. Math was probably the strangest independent study course. My teacher was a not karate, but jiu-jitsu master. He's a black belt, and he was a very health conscious and kind of strange dude. He was in his mid-30s, had a young child that I kid you not, was training to be a strongman. I'm not even joking. I don't even know how else to word that or frame it, but he really was. He would, you know, I came over to his house for, you know, after school help sometimes, because, you know, if he was too busy during the day, to give me assignments or basically tutor me, since I was doing it independently. And he'd have his son do crazy things like, hey, watch my son lift this box of toys, or watch him lift this pirate ship toy. And I was like, wow, that's really impressive. And he was telling me, you know, he's fascinated that I ate so healthy. He'd tell me how he was trying to eat healthy. And he also had this strange fascination with me directly. He wanted me to be this math protege and, you know, wanted me to love math. I really didn't love math. I was good at it, and it was easy and kind of fun, but it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue. So I had some strange encounters with him, just like feeling like, I just want you to teach me math and get me out of here, not, you know, not share your super strong, crazy son with me and expect me to be like your math child, you know, karate kid. But for the most part, it was a fun experience to do that independent study. It kind of messed me up in terms of not being at school all day, and I kind of wish I would have just had more interaction with friends and kids. But it was definitely a good choice in terms of academically it made more sense for me. I then moved, after basketball season, after the letdown that was, everyone wanted me to run track. I was good at cross country, so track seemed like the appropriate choice, but I had this strange desire to play tennis. When I was younger, I played tennis with my dad and brother just like at parks messing around. I never had any lessons or anything like that, but I enjoyed it a lot, and so I wanted to try it out. My mom thought I was crazy. She's like, I really think you should do track. You're so good. It'll be so much fun. You know the coaches. We knew nothing about the tennis team, except that my journalism teacher, who I adored, was the tennis coach. So I walked out there the first day of tennis, and it was embarrassing as heck. Now, I'm used to being really good at sports, so going out there and whiffing, going out there and hitting the ball into the net over and over again was an experience unlike anything I'd ever had. I had kids laughing at me, telling me I should just quit. This is ridiculous. What are you doing? You suck. High schoolers can be brutal, and I was not really used to that, and so it was terrible, but I decided to stick with it. I stuck with it, and it turned out really, really well. After the first couple matches, I was improving so rapidly that I asked the coach, would you try me at varsity? And this was kind of a bold move because I had never really played tennis, but I was getting better. I had coordination from basketball. I was left-handed, which helped quite a bit. I was growing and long, so I'm almost 6 feet now with a pretty big wingspan, and it was pretty darn good. After the first couple matches, I did ask to play varsity. My coach was a little stunned, but he said, "We'll try it once and see how it goes." Played varsity doubles, number 3 doubles. In California, they play 3 singles, 3 doubles. And you play a set against each of your opponents. So against the number 1 team, against the number 2 team, against the number 3 team. And we swept my first day. My coach was so impressed that he left me at varsity. So it was a gamble well worth it. And I ended up starting every single varsity tennis match from there until I graduated high school. The tennis season, it was fun. I made some friends. My best friends from California high school ended up being on the tennis team. So it was a super smart choice. Our team wasn't that great because we were only freshman, sophomore, a brand new school. We lost quite a bit. At the end of the year tournament, I didn't qualify, which was kind of a very fun and impressive thing for me after never playing. I lost in the first round horribly. I remember falling down after the defeat, and my coach saying, like, "Zach, like you can be upset, but I don't think you should fall down. It looks pretty ridiculous that you're sitting on your knees on the court in disappointment." I just wasn't used to losing. I wasn't used to that. But it was a really fun experience, and my freshman year ended up being good from a sports standpoint, and I made some good friends there and met some really cool teachers. I love my English teacher. I'd go in at lunchtime sometimes and we'd talk fantasy baseball. I was in his fantasy football league, and a lot of fun there. But I didn't have all that many friends. I started to get more from tennis, and we did stuff like play tennis. Kids were starting to get the sophomores starting to get their license, so go out and do that sort of thing. But for the most part, it was kind of an awkward year of growth, of sickness, of missing so many days, of figuring out if I liked the independent study thing, of if I didn't like the independent study thing, and I kind of ended up not liking it. I liked it a lot for what it gave me, but not for what it did to me and my friends, and so I exited my freshman year feeling a little bit shaky. I really liked my sports situation, but the summer was coming. I missed my friends back in Michigan. I missed my house in Michigan still, and I didn't know how the sophomore year was going to go. I didn't know if I wanted to do cross country. I had no idea how basketball was going to turn out. I hadn't really made a best friend yet. Like I said, I sat with random people throughout the year at lunch, and I got more comfortable and confident, but I didn't really feel like I gelled 100%. I still was, growing and awkward, and only wore, sports t-shirts and had moppy blonde hair, and it was kind of a goofy time in my life. And sophomore year changed some things and kept some things the same, and that's where we'll pick up next time. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hit that like button if you're enjoying, and can't wait for the next episode. Till that time, guys, girls, drink some hot chocolate. We will see you all later.